Well, Stevie Ferris here, and I'm on the build-up this week in association with Ladbrokes. I'm, of course, a Ladbrokes ambassador, but I'm delighted to be joined today by an Irish professional golfer. And, of course, it's Damian McGrien. How are you? How are you keeping, Damian?
How are you doing, Stephen? I'm well, very well.
Good, good. It's a huge week. Usually I'm on here talking about rugby and talking about how good Leinster are and Ulster getting put out at the last minute of the European Cup. But this week we're going to talk about the USPGA. There's a lot of golf on last weekend. Somebody like Jordan Spieth playing very, very well. But this week it's Southern Hills in Oklahoma. Tell me this, have you ever played out in that part of the world?
No, I haven't, Stephen, no. But you can be sure of one thing, like the golf course is going to be set up really difficult. The USPGA will set the greens up firm and fast. That's what majors are about. They try and separate the ordinary golfers. I know none of them are ordinary, but they're going to try and really, really force that the top players in the world have to show all their skills. And they're hoping and presuming that with the really, really difficult setup, that the best players in the world will come to the front by Sunday evening. So that's what the USPGA are hoping for.
Well, I know it's been talked about in previous USPGAs that they do set the course up really tricky on certain days. Do you reckon there'll be more of the same?
Yes. As a basic line, when the tournament officials set up the course, they set them up extremely difficult on Thursday and Friday. And what to do is to try and weed out the players who are playing ordinary, and then they only leave the course. The core of the guys who are left making the cut are actually playing really well. And then on Saturday and Sunday, they set the course up generous, that all of a sudden it can be a grandstand finish to make great TV on Saturday night and Sunday night. So in my experience, very tough Thursday, Friday, and then a lot more generous Saturday and Sunday. So the scoring can be exciting and the viewers can enjoy their TV late on Saturday night and Sunday night.
That's what we all love, is the drama and the birdies getting in on a Sunday afternoon. That's what we all like to see. You said that the course might play hard and fast. The weather conditions are due to be really good Thursday, Friday, and then it's to get a little bit cooler. But just yourself, are the greens going to be as firm as they are in Carlow?
Well, the greens in Carlow are moderate at the minute, Stephen. But, you know, USPGA, chances are they have the under air system, so they can dry out the greens even if it's wet, sub-air, like they have in the new Adair Manor. So, you know, they'll have everything. All the boxes will be ticked. It'll be absolutely spectacular. And Southern Hills will be turned out the best it could possibly be. They'll be looking for a huge week. Remember, the PGA Tour are looking to promote themselves, especially with the Saudi league sort of snapping at their heels. They'll be looking to make themselves look like the #1 tour in the world. So they'll be pulling out all the stops to make it a real spectacle for us all to enjoy.
Well, tell me this before we get into the breakdown of the tournament and who we both maybe fancy to go on and win it. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you at the minute? I know we have played together in a couple of Pro-Am events over the years. You're still turning out, still hitting a really good ball. Are you doing a bit of teaching at the minute? Are you still playing competitive golf? I know you're playing the Irish regional kind of tour that goes on at the minute. And are you still enjoying the game, most importantly?
Yes, Stephen, I play a little bit now. I don't play as much as I should. I'm not as competitive as I used to be, Stephen. So I'm resident pro here in Carlow Golf Club. So I have a very busy job here and I do all the club pro tasks on a daily basis. So my own golf has suffered because I've less time to put into it. So after me doing my chores in Carlow Golf Club every day, I choose to jump in my car and get away from golf club environment as fast as possible. But that's only where I'm at the moment. But you know, the Irish region is still very strong and still quite good. And I hope to play a few tournaments this year and a little bit of Pro-Am golf. That keeps me sane, Stephen. You know, keeps my sanity. We all like to get out and walk around the fairways whenever we're lucky enough to hit them. So I'm the same.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully we can get another game soon. Correct me if I'm wrong, Damien, you played in 2 Opens, is that right?
Yes. Yeah,
I played in 2 majors, 2008 and 2009.
And 9, yeah. I think Padraig won the first one I played in, and Stuart Sink beat Tom Watson. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
In the second one I played with in Turnberry. So I had two good experiences. I brought all my family with me. We had a great time at the British Opens. I missed both cuts, which was tough luck on myself. But it were good experiences, and big tournaments are big tournaments, Stephen. But when you go to the majors, everything is at least up at one, if not two notches. So everything is really, really well set up. And it's like a Christmas party for a tour member. The majors are the big ones, and they're most enjoyable. Every player, the top players, all turn up for the majors, and I think that's what makes them a real buzz.
Well, obviously you had a bit of a big game mentality if you're getting yourself into majors and playing in the Open in 2008 and 2009. Obviously, you look at the likes of Leinster and the Rugby, big game mentality. So who in this USPGA Championship are you sort of tipping to be leading from the front and staying there? Somebody that's not just going to have a 6-7 under first round and then disappear. Who do you think? Obviously, Scotty Scheffler, world number one. He's 11-1 with Ladbrokes to win the tournament. But who would be your go-to man for this week's 4 rounds of golf?
Well, Stephen, I can never see past Brooks. He's Ricky on the bag, man from Northern Ireland, and Brooks is just a machine, and he's afraid of nobody. He plays his own game. He doesn't care about anybody else. He's just a machine. If he brings form with him to Southern Hills, he's always going to be there or thereabouts. And as we've seen in the past, if he shoots a good score day one, he'll just peel them all off every day. So I'd fancy Brooks and he's been very quiet recently, which is unlike him because he normally wins. He wins a major every second year. He wins 2 or 3 tournaments in the US Tour every year. So I think Brooks has to be a man you keep an eye on. And then my far out guess, I'd go radical and I'd go for Webb Simpson. He's another guy that he can blow very hot, and I think that he's been a little bit cool recently, and I'm just waiting for him to find himself on the leaderboard and then maybe run it really, really close, because I think he's a player that he puts fantastic. Let's be honest, they all put fantastic, but compared to me and you, Stephen. But I think Webb Simpson is a guy who's been quiet, a little bit like Brooks Koepka, and he just hasn't shown any real form. I think that they're my 2 long shots. As of the Irish, I'd love to see Rory do well, don't we all? Seamus, I think, is possibly there. He's the guy there with the most beans. He's actually loving golf at the minute. I think Seamus plays too much, as I said earlier, but he needs to work out his schedule better. He's still determined to find his feet on the US Tour. And I think Shane Lowry, if he finds his putting stroke, Shane, as usual, could be the man, could be. But I think Rory, I'm starting to worry for Rory, to be honest, Stephen. I just think he's likely to win any week, and he's likely to throw it away any week. So,
do you think, Damien, that just to touch on Rory McIlroy, that he's like the last couple of tournaments he's played, he's been in, when I say in contention, getting into the last round, he's been maybe 20th. Look at the Masters, and then all of a sudden, when the pressure's off, he hits his big high bomb and draw off the tee. He gets back to his old ways. He gets the putter rolling. The pressure's off, and then all of a sudden he's slipping into the top 5, or in the Masters he rolled in second place. So, like, Rory McIlroy's paired with the circus that's going to be following them around in Tiger Woods and Jordan Spieth. Jordan Spieth, a second at the AT&T. Byron Nelson there last week, playing really good golf. It's going to be a high standard, that circus that I talk about. Well, somebody like Rory McIlroy, we all know he can deal with the pressure, but it doesn't seem to be on a consistent basis.
I think that the pairing he's in this week, I think that number one, all the attention will be on Tiger. I think Jordan will be getting the second blast, and I think Rory's actually coming in as the guy who's making up the threesome. So I think this actually might be good for Rory, that all the focus is not on him. And you know yourself, Stephen, if you're going out to play a rugby game and you're 30 points behind after half time, it's very hard to say, oh, listen, we're in the driving seat here because all we can do is plow our way through the field and try and recover something. If Rory's playing big golf tournaments and he's 6 shots behind with 18 holes to go, it's not the formula to win golf tournaments. The formula is to be there or thereabouts. But like what he done in the Masters, I would love to see Rory use that positively and use it to push his career and his major count forward. But what he done in the Masters was great for us all to see, but it's not a formula to win golf tournaments.
No. And I totally agree with you. But some of those lads that you mentioned, you left out John Ram, who's always there. McIlroy's 14-1. Jordan Spieth, his odds have been slashed in recent months. He's 16-1. Cameron Smith would be my pick. I think he's very, very consistent. Lost it a little bit over the last couple of months on the greens as well. His short game's just absolutely fantastic. So Cameron Smith, 20-1. Shane Lowry, who you also mentioned, he's 28-1 with Ladbrokes. And your pick for the week is Brooks Koepka, and he's 35-1. And believe it or not, Damien, I bumped into Ricky Elliott in Portrush there a couple of weeks ago. He was just home from Brooks Koepka's stag do, and he was feeling a little fragile. And I asked him about Brooks and how he was getting on, and he said he's fighting a little bit with his body, just making sure that his fitness is right. And like you said earlier, somebody like Seamus Power is playing all the golf that he can, where Brooks Koepka is sort of saving himself for the bigger tournaments. So I think that's a really good shout. We'll park the golf, Damien. Let's talk a little bit about rugby before I let you go. Give me 5 minutes on rugby. I take it you support Leinster?
I do now, but unfortunately, Stephen, I'm not a great rugby fan. I'm surrounded by people who love rugby, I must admit. And, they're such great, like even the people here in the golf club who support the rugby support my business. And they're great for the club here to come in and to make a whole day out of the games. So I'm unfortunately busy working, Stephen. But
you're working most weekends, aren't you?
As a golf pro, that's my side of the business. Yeah, so when I'd love to be off having a couple of quiet pints watching the rugby, I'm actually working in my job. So it's just the way it is. But, there's always a great buzz. It's good for business, good for the golf club here. I know that the sport gives a lot more than just on the pitch. It really does. It spreads its wings across all aspects of sport in Ireland. And I know our own rugby teams, Leinster, are doing great. And I know Munster always do well. So it's great, yeah.
Yeah, they're flying. Just before I let you go, just the games that are on this weekend in the United Rugby Championship. Obviously, the top 8 teams, they are done and dusted. They're good. They're going to make the quarterfinals. But it's about where they're placing now. So we have Benetton versus Cardiff, Ulster versus Sharks, which is probably the game of the weekend. World Cup winners like Sia Khaleesi coming over against Dwayne Vermeulen. Big, massive contest. That's going to be an epic game. Ospreys, Bulls, Dragons, Lions. You've Connacht versus Zebre, Scarlets versus Stormers, Edinburgh, Glasgow, the Scottish Derby, and last but not least, for the weekend, it's Leinster versus Munster. So a good Irish derby to finish.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, and then of course Leinster have got to back that up with a big European game against La Rochelle. And to be honest, I was actually just looking at the odds. I know I'll touch on it more over the next couple of weeks, and I'd love to get you on again, Damien, at some stage to talk about more golf and more rugby. But Leinster 1-5 to win the Heineken Champions Cup in a couple of weeks' time. That is absolutely crazy against La Rochelle. And who coaches La Rochelle? Ronan O'Gara, the famous Munster man.
Wow.
So it's going to be epic. But just having a look at the odds, I'm going through. Well, I'll tell you what, there's a couple of big outsiders. Brooks Koepka and Smith to win the USPGA Championship this week in Southern Hills Golf Club, Oklahoma. He's at 20-1. He's my pick. From an Irish perspective, of course, I got to go with my local man, Rory McIlroy. I played with him a couple of rounds of golf up in Belfast, showed him a way around, hit a few shanks, hit a few snap hooks, and he laughed his leg off at me. So he's always very, very dangerous, as Damien alluded to, really dangerous player, but he just needs to be more consistent. But yeah, I'm going to go for McIlroy at 14-1, and an outside shot. I'll stick with the Irish. Seamus Power, why not? He's playing good golf. He's loving it, every single minute of it, and it'd be good to see the Irish boys go well. I'm just not sure that Shane Lowry at the minute, I don't know, his short game is good, but it's not at the level it was when he was winning the British Open, not so long ago. So that's my picks for this week's USPGA Championship.
But Stephen, as regards Rory, are we starting to worry that Rory's actually afraid of not winning the majors at this point?
I don't think so. I honestly,
I think he just feels like I think he plays golf as if he's terrified to let people down by not winning more majors. Whereas Shane Lowry might have less game, but Shane Lowry now believes he actually can win majors, and he turns up at major tournaments and actually can find another gear. But Rory turns up at the major tournaments and he's a bit sheepish, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think Shane Lowry's actually the opposite. He turns up and he can find another gear to go forward. And I've agreed with what you said, Stephen. Rory's by far a superior player, but it just doesn't seem to fall right for him. The fit doesn't fall for him in the majors, as if he's too desperate to achieve success for his fan base.
Yeah. It's hard to disagree with that. It is. Everybody up in Northern Ireland, as you know from anybody in Ireland, they just write him off. So Rory McIlroy's crap up here because he hasn't won a major in 6 years or 8 years or many years it is. So everybody up here thinks he's rubbish, but yet he finishes second in the Masters. He's top 10 nearly every tournament that he plays, but everybody thinks he's rubbish. So, and that's just the typical Irish thing that you jump on the back of, because we all think he should be winning every week just because we've seen his talent. We've seen his talent so much at a younger age. And then, as you rightly say, when the pressure comes on and he expects to win and he has a bad first 9 holes, he just goes into his shell.
Yeah, I just think it means too much to him to try and satisfy his fan base to achieve success in majors. His fans don't even care if he wins an ordinary PGA Tour event. Yeah. And I think where the opposite I feel is true for Shane Lowry. Shane Lowry's less ability, but when he turns up to the majors, he actually believes that this is the big time and this is his time to shine. And Shane can find another gear, whereas Rory, I think, is nearly afraid not to win a major again. It's a pity. It's a pity.
That's a very interesting point. It is. Thanks for your time. But before we let you go, who are your tips for this week? I know you have a big outsider, but who would be your go-to man also to try and get the job done?
Well, to fill your boots, I'd recommend you go with Webb Simpson. I believe he's been in the shadows for quite a while, and as a long shot, I believe that he's something to give. I have to pick somebody, Stephen, and I pick Webb. So my more of a sure thing, I'd go with Brooks Koepka. I always think Brooks is the man. He's afraid of nobody. He loves the challenge, and he's a brilliant front runner, Stephen. I think we all know that. I'd love to see the Irish do well. I think Seamus Power is currently living the dream in a fairy tale. He plays too much, as I said before, but he's going to have to sort that out himself. Rory, we're all walking around with our fingers crossed that Rory's going to come good and be the golfer we know he is. I just think that Rory cares too much these days. I think that, he needs to care a little bit less like he did in the final round of Augusta. I think Shane Lowry is a better competitor when it comes to the majors. I feel that Shane, as I said earlier on, can find another gear. So my long shot is Webb Simpson. Who do I fancy really to be on the leaderboard by the end of the week and give us all something to support? I think Brooks is there or thereabouts. And it's nice with the Northern Ireland connection, knowing that Ricky's on the bag. And we all know Ricky's a great guy and very, very popular amongst all the players and caddies. So I'm looking forward to seeing some good golf. I'll probably tune in on Saturday evening to see how it's going. And I'll sit down and I'll watch it Sunday evening like we all will to see the climax to a big week for the USPGA. I think that they really need to showcase what they're all about, and especially show the Saudis that they're the #1 tour in the world.
Oh, very good. Well, just on that, Webb Simpson, 100-1. Would you believe it? Damian McGrien, Irish golfer, bags of experience, playing at Opens. He's going for 100-1. Webb Simpson to maybe find himself on the leaderboard come Sunday. And of course, Brooks Koepka 35-1. Damien, thanks again. I'll speak to you soon.
Steve. Thank you.